Welcome back for another lore video. I'm actually really excited for this one, for we're going to talk about a proud and ancient race descended from the dragons themselves, the Dragonborn. So sit back, relax, enjoy the fire, and let your mind get lost on a journey to the Forgotten Realms. The Dragonborn will likely be a playable race in Baldur's Gate 3. Although we haven't seen them in the actual gameplay, they are a core race in the 5th edition Player's Handbook from Dungeons & Dragons, which Larian Studios seems to be following very closely. We're going to talk about who the Dragonborn are, what their history is, and near the end of the video we'll talk about what the advantages of playing a Dragonborn in Baldur's Gate 3 will likely be. So you're going to want to stick around for that. If you guys end up enjoying this video, please subscribe, for there will be much more Baldur's Gate 3 content on the way. Let's talk Dragonborn. The Dragonborn were a proud and ancient race, a race of draconic creatures native to the planet of Abir, the twin planet of Toril. During the Spell Plague, the Dragonborn were transplanted from Abir to Toril, with the majority of them living on the continent of Larikand. Baldur's Gate 3 will take place on the continent of Faerun, on the planet of Toril, where the Dragonborn could also be found, but they were a rare sight. If you wanted to find one, you should journey to the nation of Timanther, on the eastern side of Faerun. The Dragonborn were a tall race, standing typically between 6'2" and 6'8", and weighing between 220 and 320 pounds. If you had to describe their appearance in 2 words, humanoid dragons would be a good choice. Their heads resemble the dragon's head, with a blunt snout, a strong brow, and reptilian frills on the cheeks and ears. On the backs of their heads, a crest of horn-like scales formed, giving them the appearance of having ropey-like hair. Their bodies exhibited many draconic features, such as a scaly hide and a large muscular body. What made them truly unique was their ability to use a breath weapon, as well as gain resistance to the same elemental energy that they can breathe. They can thank their draconic heritage for that. Their scales could be a variety of colors, ranging from gold to bronze, to scarlet to brown to brass. Their scales were typically not an indication of their heritage, for thousands of years of interbreeding has created Dragonborns of many shades. They were warm-blooded creatures despite their reptilian appearance, with an internal body temperature that was warmer than most other similar races. Accompanied by a lack of hair and a large mouth, the Dragonborn were able to displace body heat at an effective rate, making them more comfortable in colder climates than many other races, but also able to handle heat as a human would. Young Dragonborn hatched from eggs like their draconic relatives, and they grew at a rapid rate. A Dragonborn was said to reach maturity around the age of 12, and they were considered adults by the age of 15. This rapid growth, however, does not come with prolonged life compared to humans, for the full life of a Dragonborn was around 80 years of age. The origin of the Dragonborn, like many other races, was shrouded in myth. Some Dragonborn believe they were originally created by the Dragon Lords of Abir to serve as slaves to the dragons, while a less popular belief was that of themselves being ancient creations of the dragon god of justice, Bahamut. Those that believed in Bahamut were known as the Platinum Cadre, and they were openly persecuted for their beliefs. Regardless of their beliefs on their origins, the race as a whole did serve as slaves to the dragons for a millennia on the planet of Abir, where most of the race could be found. Abir was ruled by a vast amount of mighty dragon overlords who looked at the Dragonborn as nothing but slaves. However, over time, some Dragonborn nations were able to separate themselves from draconic rule. Most notable was the nation of Tymankabar. When the Spell Plague came, much of Tymankabar's center of power was wrested away from the planet of Abir and transplanted to the ruins of Unther on the planet of Toril, specifically on the continent of Faerun, where Baldur's Gate 3 is located. In the ruins of Unther, the Dragonborn formed a new nation by the name of Timanther, which became the strongest center of Dragonborn culture on Toril. Their capital city was known as Jarad Timar, which was described as an enormous hollowed pyramid. This giant pyramid rested on a granite foundation supported by huge columns and was said to be nearly 1,500 feet high. Inside the pyramid, the lowest levels served as the commercial area of the city, while the upper levels there were balconies leading to individual dwellings. Normal citizens had to use a series of ramps to get to the upper levels, while more influential clans had access to teleportation rooms that provided quick access to all levels of the pyramid. If you do meet a Dragonborn on your Baldur's Gate 3 journey, they will likely have come from Timanther. Most other Dragonborn remained enslaved by dragons, either on Abir or on the continent of Larrakand, which was also transplanted from Abir to Toril during the Spell Plague. The Spell Plague, for those of you who might not know, was a disaster that struck the realm space and many planes themselves. It came about from the assassination of the mother of all magic, Mistra, who guided the magic that enveloped Toril. When she was assassinated, there came a period in time where arcane magic ceased to function, and the planet of Toril was transformed. Large rifts were formed that transplanted areas from the planet of Abir to Toril, which is how the Dragonborn ended up on Toril. The Dragonborn Society in Timanther was well known for their fierce and abiding hatred for dragons. Tales of draconic cruelty and the stories from their struggle for freedom on Abir continue to be told. The dragons on Toril, although many of them were of an evil nature, had nothing to do with the Dragonborn's enslavement, but this did not stop the Dragonborn from deeming those among them who have slain a dragon a hero. This is one reason why the Platinum Cadre, which were the Dragonborns who worshipped the good dragon god, were still persecuted harshly, for most Dragonborn did not support the idea of worshipping a dragon at all. A Dragonborn's culture could be represented by their drive for honor. They were known to never break their word, and if by chance they did, they would often accept the consequences rather than dishonoring themselves by running away or attempting to give excuses for their failings. Their values of honor and honesty were widespread throughout their nations, and you would be hard-pressed to find a Dragonborn who was also a lowly criminal. Although they carried a strong hatred for dragons that is likely not to fade anytime soon, they carried few other prejudices and were overall a good race. They were actually known to work hard to earn the friendships of other races. However, their sudden appearance on the planet of Toril from the Spell Plague made many other races wary of their motives. A Dragonborn's clan and family bloodline were the two most important things that they valued in life. A clan was referred to as a confederation of families united by mutual purpose in ages past, and their families were referred to as their actual blood relatives. Of the two, though, the clan was actually considered more important, and it's where the Dragonborn owed their utmost loyalty. Clans were led by clan masters, typically of an older age, who were chosen for their ability to lead. A Dragonborn's actions were expected to bring favor and goodwill to his or her clan, which would in turn improve their clan's reputation. While many races typically used their family names, Dragonborns often went with their clan names in hopes that they would always bring honor and glory to their clan. Family names were many times kept secret and shared only among the closest friends and other family members. Their marriages were arranged by the clan leaders and were more for the purpose of reproduction rather than love. Marriage would usually only last 3 years, for at the age of 3, a Dragonborn child would continue on for the rest of his childhood with only the parent who was the same sex as themselves. A Dragonborn child would go through scholarly studies and moral lessons from parents as well as other adults in the community. Instilling the virtue of the Dragonborn Society into a child was of grave importance, not only for the child's education and morality, but it was also thought that without this imposed discipline, a Dragonborn's intense and fierce passions may give way to a feral savagery. The Dragonborn would often take a pragmatic approach to art by usually not creating items purely for artistic reasons. Instead, they would focus on creating things that could serve a functional purpose. Despite this, the Dragonborn still did not lack in the art of making their creations pleasing to the eye, and their work oftentimes gave off draconic or elemental flares. However pragmatic they were, when it came to jewelry, they let their artistic abilities truly shine. Precious metals and jewels of all types could be found all over a Dragonborn nation, and although this may seem similar to a dragon's love for hoarding treasure, the Dragonborn typically possessed a culturally instilled restraint that kept them from overindulging in treasure. If you enjoy sports, a Dragonborn Society does not lack in competitive activities. These sports oftentimes were not team-based. The most popular games usually ended in one clear victor. Wrestling was extremely popular, and pit fighting and gladiator-like games could also take place. If you find yourself not enjoying the more physically based games, the Dragonborn also commonly engaged in strategic board games, riddled contests, and improvised storytelling events. When they weren't working, they were training. A mighty, honorable, and disciplined race they are. Now let's talk about some of the Dragonborn abilities that set them apart from other races. Strength and Charisma were a naturally gifted ability for a Dragonborn, and if they are a playable race in Baldur's Gate 3, expect to receive an ability score increase to Strength and Charisma upon choosing this race. Dragonborn were also typically a more durable race, and when they were injured they could heal more easily than most other humanoids. Perhaps the most interesting and powerful ability that a Dragonborn possessed was its breath weapon. A Dragonborn's draconic heritage would determine the size, shape, and damage type of the exhalation. Some examples of different breath types would be acid, lightning, fire, poison, and cold. In Baldur's Gate 3, a breath weapon when used will likely force your opponent to make a saving throw, and if they fail, you'll deal 2d6 damage, and if they succeed, you'll deal half as much damage. These damage numbers will increase when you reach certain levels, making your breath more powerful. Upon using a breath weapon, you will likely have to do a short or long rest to regain it back, which in Baldur's Gate 3, a short rest is considered as the time in between two different combat encounters, or a long rest is resting at your camp. Your draconic heritage not only grants you your breath weapon, but also will give you damage resistance to that same damage type as your breath weapon. If Baldur's Gate 3 delves deep into the wide varieties of languages in D&D, your Dragonborn will be able to read, write, and speak Draconic, which could offer some exciting opportunities. What an amazing race the Dragonborn are, and since they're such a new race on the planet of Toril, I look forward to hearing some of your guys' journeys in Baldur's Gate 3 if they do become a playable race. You may play a big part in the history of the Dragonborn on this planet. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It's a huge help to my videos. I do all sorts of content on this channel, ranging from comedy videos to game reviews to live streams to tutorials to product reviews, etc. I would love seeing some of you guys on a future video. I've done various other lore videos relating to Baldur's Gate 3. Make sure to check those out. I'll see you guys on the next one.